Motion and second. Any further discussion on the agenda? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Agenda is approved. Item 2, discussion of the cash flow model from PFN that was presented at our meeting last week. This item on the agenda just to see if there's any additional questions.
See if anybody had any more comments, or if we've had a week to look at it.
Yeah, periodically in the past, you wouldn't know this, Kelly, but I think annually the state of Iowa reviews the water rates for different communities, and I don't know when that's done, but I think that would be useful information for to help with the discussion. So
Okay.
I don't know if it's worth reaching out if they have an updated version.
I will. There's
You know-
2 or 3 studies that goes on here. Rural Water does one, the state does one.
Okay.
And I participate in one in the first of the year.
Okay.
For water and sewer
Okay.
with, it's the city of Ames, I believe. And John Dunn.
Yes,
John
that's the one
Dunn.
that I
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
so I would have, if you would like me to send that stuff out, I
Okay.
would
You know,
have it from last, but it's gonna be
helps
coming out.
to see where you stand.
Exactly.
Because most of those that I participate in, they pick a benchmark because to make up for the differences in different rate structures. So
Yep.
they usually pick an average user of 5,000 gallons, family of 3, 5,000 gallons. So you can see where
Yeah.
you stand up there. Because sometimes it's hard to compare minimum charges. 'Cause it
Yeah,
doesn't really tell the
exactly.
story.
Those kind of factor into the rate discussion. So I think that would be useful to get an updated
Okay.
version of that.
The block rate study that was presented, it's fascinating to me. There's some good information
Yeah.
to get out of there. I can't quite make up my mind if there's a different direction we should go yet or not.
Yeah, yeah,
It has some good things in it.
yeah.
And remind me again what the timing is for setting our rate for the, I guess it would be the 2021 fiscal year. Rate for 1920 is already
Yes,
Yeah.
done. 2021, we would set that rate when, March?
right,
You,
if we're gonna do an increase.
Right.
And these numbers today, well, we'll get to it,
Right.
are just based off of what
Okay.
Suzanne had.
So we're all just about modifying budgets, improving budgets at this point, not rate setting or not rate changing.
No, but if you change it, that's gonna change the revenues line item.
Right.
That kind of stuff.
yeah, for 2021.
Correct.
Yeah.
It doesn't catch much of 1920.
1920, yeah.
By
Usually,
the time it's
if we
put in
change it
place.
Because the rate
March.
becomes effective at the fiscal year, right? Doesn't it?
No, if it changes March 1st, then it won't be in effect until we do the billing in April that goes out in May.
yeah.
Okay, so
We
it
usually
actually
catch a
catches
couple
the tail
months.
end of the
Yeah,
fiscal
yeah,
year.
we usually
Okay.
catch a couple months of
If
that
there's
fiscal
any
year.
increase, it will not be based
Yeah.
on.
Okay.
And I believe they're presenting to the city council today, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to be another bit of information that I think will be helpful for us as to what's happening on the sewer side
Right.
as well.
Yeah.
Because
I got
the bill that we
inside,
send
because
now says water department
we
and
went
sewer is
We
on
went through
that.
budgeting already, you know,
Yeah.
they're having a work session tonight, and
Right.
they did actually have some decreased cost from us this year, but the problem on that side has been the capital spending.
That's upcoming.
Because
Yeah.
so many things have came in over budget, and they've had to kick the can down the road a little bit, and so
Yep.
they're trying to put bids out again on some of that, because they put one out that came in 30% over, and they decided to rebid it at the 30% over mark, and in 6 months when they rebid it again, they came in another 30% over that. And so it's kind of an unfair situation DNR to put them in. I think contractors are looking at them and salivating because they know they have to.
Have to do something.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a pretty unfair position they put them
Yeah, I know that I only focus on the water side here, but
Right.
in. Yeah,
that
ours.
part of the bill is on the water department bill, so
Yes.
it impacts our customers.
Right,
Yeah.
I mean,
They were very pleased with the numbers they got from us on this, that
Yeah.
we already forwarded to
I know
them.
that last year they
Because
were saying 8% every year for the next.
That's what they still have blocked out, is 8%.
Yeah.
That's what they're looking at until 2025.
Okay.
No, yeah, this is, That's a different meeting.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
Any further discussion on the PFM model? It's kind of an encouraging look out into the future. So if there's no more discussion on that, let's move on to item 4, discussion of our 2019, 2020 budget
Number
changes.
three.
3, oh, yeah, CIP changes. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. CIP changes, number 3. You have the old and the new in front of you for comparison.
If you guys would like this in the Excel spreadsheet, I can send it to you that way too if you want.
Okay.
So when when you print it to fit the format of the paper, sometimes it gets hard for me to follow
Yeah.
the lines.
We could do it there.
And then there's some notations on the spreadsheet of things that have been moved around. So if you like it that way, I can send it to you.
I just kind of set them side by side and highlighted the changes. There was a split fund mini excavator.
That was on with the city, but the city had actually removed that.
The city
from their
removed
CIP.
it, so we
They
can take
removed
it
it
off.
last year, yeah.
Okay.
They had decided that and honestly, it wouldn't work very good for them. The mini excavator won't hardly dig deep enough to do a lot of what the sewer requires here. Most of the stuff here is pretty deep.
I think the backhoe and vacuum, we've talked about those in the past on this, but it looks like that's been moved out to
Trying to move that out, I think till
quite a ways out, 26,
25,
27.
26, yeah.
So you're thinking that's, what we have is good enough to,
I think that will put it at 10 years old.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think you do an honest assessment of it then at 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, but my experience has been backhoes are 15 to 20 years with proper maintenance. And so at 10 years, I think we should take an honest look at condition of it and see where we are.
Do we have a proper maintenance schedule?
I mean, it's
set up.
what I've seen is it's serviced regularly. We don't have a lot of staff in-house for repairing. We've got a big repair bill on it last month that had to have a new valve body put in it, but it is maintained regularly.
Okay.
And the operators have been trained in proper greasing and walk around, so it's a very nice machine.
that's the backhoe.
Yeah, the backhoe, it's almost 5 years old and only has
Yeah.
700 hours on it.
Right.
Yeah, it's,
All right.
And the camera and security systems, is that in a separate line item, or is,
actually, that's rolled into water plant upgrades
Okay.
for 1920.
okay,
And then that also includes, there'll be almost 6,000, should have been included on our CIP to start with. The city has to do a arc flash study. This is part of the sewer department upgrades that Fox had recommended. We participate in that too at the plant. So it's
okay.
to look at our high voltage situations and make sure we're labeled correctly, and it's a safety study.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The 92.5, payback to City of Oskaloosa for the MSO line, is that the entire amount?
Yeah.
That is the entire amount.
So,
So we can either do that. We could space it out a couple years, but I think we're in the right position to go
Well,
ahead.
yeah, when Suzanne, we were talking to her, she,
She recommended
She
get
was
rid
like-
of the debt
Yep.
here if
right,
we could.
instead of dragging it out for
Yeah.
3
Get it
years.
done.
And I think
Because
the
we did
city
have
would
it.
appreciate it too.
Yeah.
Originally, we had it in 3, 4, or 5.
Yeah.
Yep.
Agreed.
And I'm okay with that strategy. I think the intent that we're looking for is, as these capital improvement projects come up in the future, this is a mechanism I hope we
Absolutely.
can use,
Yeah.
right? And if we have the capital belt room to do it in 1 year, let's do it in 1 year.
Yeah.
But we can spread it over 3 years.
Yeah.
The
I
future-
think it's a good plan for them to have skin in the game also on
Yeah.
projects like that.
And then the putting pipe in the ground project that we're gonna do next is South Fifth.
South Fifth Street, yes.
Okay.
That's a carryover from last year. That's in the same place.
And that, as I remember, is helps supporting the new Marjorie
This
addition
is to support the new subdivisions down here and to get a loop back through.
to loop it back into
Yeah.
our system.
Mhm. And the next project after that will be engineered in 21, 22 will be the C Avenue West Water Main. That's going to be a pretty big project. But
Okay. We're spreading that over 3 years, it looks like,
Yeah, engineering and then construction
and then
over
2 years of
Yeah,
construction. Okay.
because we'll have the issue of going through the railroad again.
Okay.
So that's always some special circumstance for them.
Is that pretty much all of City Avenue West?
Mhm.
Engineering wise, are we gonna be overloading? I assume Garden's gonna be our supplier there. We have quoted the Fox in the past, but
Say, have you ever put out RFQs or?
we have to get are we paying the right amount of money?
Sure.
You know, try and get, if we, on this project schedule, are we gonna be overloading Garden with the work they're doing on sewer? Have they mentioned anything like that?
Well, I mean, they're still wrapping up their short-term improvements. They're in phase 3 of that, you know.
Okay.
But most of the engineering for that's already done.
Okay,
I think where they get overwhelmed a little bit is construction inspection, but
okay,
because we're gonna put the additional burden, I think, on Garden next year on the well field maintenance, because this year was, you had brought it up.
Yeah.
And the costs were escalated even, and so we actually increased the line item some, but I think we should have engineer oversight on that. I think we should shop it. At that kind of money, it's a project,
Yeah.
we should shop that.
yeah. And I know that the city has mentioned insourcing that potentially between sewer and water.
Mhm.
There's potential that we could insource for the amount of money we're paying for outside contract to do it. I don't know how realistic that really is.
It's not very realistic as far
Okay.
as the equipment need for bore blasting.
Okay,
It's a pretty specialized deal, but there's quite a few companies out there that do it that are located here in the Midwest, so I will probably shop it with Lane next year,
Yep.
Layne, and you price check them, because
Yeah.
they kind of ran away from us this year.
yeah, all right.
And I think we should, at spending that kind of money, we should shop it.
Yeah, exactly.
Meter replacement again is just to, those to read automatically. It's not necessarily a accuracy. We don't feel we're losing revenue by having inaccurate.
I think we are on some of our larger meters, because some of them have been in the ground for a while, so we're gonna be a little aggressive on some of the larger meters at least. We might have somebody come in and test our large meters for us, so if it's not ready to replace, because some of them are more expensive, some of the large meters are, so we can have an outside firm come in and do meter testing at the site. This was, Suzanne thought, since we had room in the CIP to ramp up our meter replacement, and we could, if we could get it finished in the next 2 or 3 years, then we could get rid of the outside vendor that does all the reads. It's where I'd like to be as independent, even if we continue on the path we've been on, is to be away from the contractor doing our reads. 'Cause it's quite a bit of money for the
Yeah,
amount
it
of time
is.
that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm still looking at a couple different options. We've still been replacing, not on the schedule we were, 'cause we're hoping to get where we could be half fixed based and half drive-by, and eventually switch over to all fixed base read.
Okay.
You get a lot more data.
Yep.
On the consumer end, it's a lot better.
We're planning to increase that spend by 110.
110 the next 2 years.
The next
yeah.
2 years. And we did have a resolution that we would spend 220,000. I don't remember how it was stated. If that was a minimum
if
that
we-
we said we were gonna spend.
If we increase this, we'll have to do another resolution.
Okay, we will need to
Yes,
create a
to-
resolution to do that.
To do that,
Okay, all right.
That creates a dedicated fund.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, if you decide to approve that, yeah, we'll have a resolution in the next, either December or January on the meter fund.
Okay, all right. I couldn't remember.
Yeah,
I remember having the resolution, but I don't remember how it was stated.
And her number on out years, I'm not sure, you know, she keeps it at 50,000 for metering going forward. I think that's a little excessive if we get it
Okay.
done.
Okay.
I think it,
We can pull that
in my
back.
experience, it's a little excessive, but we'll have to see what our failure rate is down the
Okay.
road. I'm not sure, I haven't seen this meter in use before.
Yep.
To see what the failure
And
rate
this
is.
is all just our staff going out and.
This is our staff,
Changing out
yeah.
these meters.
Okay.
So we have a schedule. Which
Yeah.
quadrant of the city we're gonna hit at this point in time.
I'm waiting for an estimate for, I've actually looked into some, using some of the existing meters we have, which when we're testing them coming out, they're pretty good. that SR2 is kind of a workhorse meter. They last a long time. It's actually changing out the heads, where we just change out the head and get a radio fixed base read off of it. It'd be a lot less cost than we have. The sooner we can get rid of the vendor, to me, is the sooner we can start recouping on the meter.
Yeah.
It's almost 40,000 a year.
Yep.
And the city follows the same guideline on these, if you look at these projects out the road, like the 20-inch from the plant to 210th Street, we figure them basically in today's construction dollars. So you can make a real apples to apples comparison. So like on that one, that's almost $800,000. That by the time we get there in 7-8 years, that's going to be a much more expensive project.
Yeah.
But it helps to look at it now to see where your capital's going. So they figure that in today's dollars.
How many of these projects are putting in sewer at the same time?
I think the C Avenue West coincides with sewer lining, because most of the stuff inside the city limits has been lining with point repairs, and that's where we've actually struggled with them for the last couple of months. That's what's been going up on A Avenue, and it has involved that our water main's in the way. And so then we're having to make notification for outages every day with the customers to give them proper notification, and it's not been our best PR feature because the contractor hasn't been that reliable on the day when he's actually going to get the work done.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And so we kind of wear it, but that's the way it is.
Okay.
So out in the future, you've got a new well, a couple of different 20-inch mains going in.
Mm-hmm.
The one from the plant to 210th, which direction are we going there from the plant?
Currently that doesn't run straight down the road. That it goes to the road and then goes kind of off in the middle of nowhere for a while. That's the one that runs across the cornfield. To me, it's where so for me to get the direction, I could drive you to it, but I can't really. I'm not that familiar with
So it actually
with the
comes
area
down
yet.
on Lynn Avenue. No,
Okay.
yeah, Lynn, because 230th and Lynn. So it actually comes down Lynn. So it's not, it almost hits up with North 3rd. It's kind of, but it goes across a bunch of fields, and it may not even be straight at that point. But I know it comes down on Lynn Avenue.
There's actually some data which way it runs, especially.
So is that what you would be replacing, the one that cuts through the cornfield, or would that still be?
That I'm not sure.
Well, I think it's part of that, and then I think part of it is anticipated DOT bypass.
Oh,
okay.
Because we will have quite a bit of utility relocation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and because most of the city's open dig stuff on the sewer is going to come in places where we're not in the same right of way. A lot of it is off the beaten path and through the back of subdivisions and stuff. That's where they're running into their giant cost overruns. The open dig sewer stuff is coming in really high. Because everything they've tried to do in the streets has been a relining with point repairs at the bad spots. That's one I would, until the city is firm on, they're looking at doing 7th Street from the railroad tracks down to 15th.
Right, just right out here.
It's right out here.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're looking at borrowing money. That's something that if they pull the trigger, I think they're 3 years away. That's something we wouldn't want to incorporate in our CIP is basically to remove this old 4-inch line that's out here. There's a 12-inch line we could hook everybody to. We would basically just be abandoning the 4-inch line.
The 4-inch.
Yeah.
Okay.
The dump truck that's coming up this next year, is that shared with the city?
No, it's not.
Okay.
And that's a number I put on it. I think it's a little, I think we should actually look in a high-end used market. But I
Okay.
wanted to cover us in case we did have to go new, because with used, you're looking at basically finding a truck, because we're gonna put it out for bid. You've got to find fairly the truck you're looking for and put the bids out and hope that it's there when the bids come in and they bid on it.
Okay.
So I wanted to cover something, but our dump truck is the most pitiful piece of equipment we
Yeah,
have. It's,
yeah.
That's bad.
I know that's been stated quite a few
Yeah.
times.
I drove it the other night on a water main break and going down the hill at the plant to get to the dump, I was
Yeah.
concerned
Yeah.
about stopping.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we, looks like you dropped the tractor off.
We did,
That's
we
pretty
dropped
much
that off because we got pretty good agreement with the city for letting us use their tractor and bush hog at the plant for the well field, which is
Yep.
great.
Mhm.
It's a nice piece of machinery.
Okay.
We've been able to develop
Yeah.
a few of them where we're gonna be able to work together on that.
Good.
Any other discussion on the proposed CIP changes? Okay. If none, then we will move on now to agenda item number 4. Discussion of 2019-2020 budget changes. Changes to the current fiscal year.
I think on the, we'll need a motion in a second if you want to approve the new CIP, I think.
Okay, back to agenda item number 3.
Sorry.
Okay,
Yeah. we
no
just
further
need-
discussion on the CIP changes. I'd entertain a motion.
I move to accept the updated CIP outline as presented.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, and I have 2 seconds.
Just 2 seconds.
Oh, oh, I think, my bad.
No worries.
We'll
Not a
go
problem.
first. Yeah.
Not a problem. Any additional discussion on CIP changes? Okay, if none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion say aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. We're good to move on now, Kelly.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I got, I'm like, I researched that. and I'm
Appreciate you
thinking
keeping me.
I think I needed a motion on
Keeping me in
that.
line there, yeah. Okay. 1920 fiscal year budget changes. See, a lot of moving from one line item to another,
There is a lot
of
of
that.
moving,
Yeah.
yeah. And
which
that
will make
was-
things a little easier to compare going
It will.
The new
because,
GM wanted a
um,
bunch of stupid
Yeah,
things.
and it was, when he started though, it was the perfect time to make
Yes.
those changes, so, you'll see a lot of changes when it comes to just like the health insurance and, some of the other stuff has, the health insurance is one of the biggest line items, it was all hitting office, and so now it will be plant and distribution, so it'll be broke out a little more instead of all one line item. And we've added some other line items in also, a couple of them just to, make, like I said, make sure they're hitting plant or distribution versus like all office or whatever, so.
The contract labor line items, what's 8,001 and 8,006 again?
8,001 is distribution, 6
Okay.
is office.
Okay. Was that money moved from somewhere else?
That money was not moved from somewhere else, it was that was for the contract labor, for the 5,000 was for when Kelly started here,
Okay.
part of that agreement, the 20,000 and the 8,001 is for, any overtime that we pay out to the city when we use wastewater employees.
Okay.
They bill us, we pull it out of there. Any unemployment that we have to pay out, it's coming out of that line item.
Okay.
There's a lot of shuffling going on. I'm looking at meter reading service.
Right, we moved that
It's
to,
it's a net decrease of about 5,000, right?
right, yeah, we usually can scale it back until they come back in and change those rates, so. So they kind of went back over the last 3 years to see what we were spending and where we were at, so that's why you're gonna see a lot of, some of them are just little. I'm just trying to eliminate some of those odd numbers on the end of things and make it a little easier.
So there's a big chunk of miscellaneous income coming in.
That is for, the city
Musco.
money and the Musco money.
The city money plus the Musco money.
Yeah.
So
Mhm. And that'll scale right back
that's why
down.
it's, I was thinking.
That
it
three
was around-
fifty-five is the amount of the difference for the
Okay.
project, so.
Yeah.
And that was also, the one, you'll see that increase, I guess, on the, distribution projects, so we increased that
Okay.
when you get down there. That 355, so where it's coming in, it's going back out.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
washed.
And then an additional chunk of it's going back out in 2021, the 92.5. So that's part of the same thing.
The 92.5,
That's
well,
the
and
payback
that's
to the
actually
city.
gonna, yeah, that's the
Yeah.
payback to the city. And that's actually coming out of the, it's just gonna be the line item that is, just distribution projects. We're just pulling it back out of there.
So the bottom line, we'd go from a net loss of 199 to a net loss of about 72.
72.
Yeah.
Right.
And we're increasing revenue to 302. Increasing expenses 175.
Right.
Okay.
And, I mean, you'll see in that metered sales, if the rate is zero, if there's no rate increase, that 70,000 is the last part of Beacon for this year.
Okay.
All right, that's the only reason there's that decrease.
Mhm. That's Beacon,
Yes.
the metered
Yep.
sales.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the decrease in.
That's
That's
just
Okay.
that's just for the remaining portion. of
Correct,
this.
and so then when you go into next year, I'm gonna take this
It's gonna be
number
a
and
bigger
that's
number.
another 70.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
we go to the grade paper.
We want to be really honest with our,
Yeah.
where we're gonna be on our
Yeah.
media sales.
Yep.
I've seen budgets
So
done for a
we're
long
running
time where they
96, and that's
inflate that
this
number and
over,
just
um,
spending a lot of money, so
Take this
I
number
think that to be
reduce
as
another
real
70,
numbers we can
and that's
see.
gonna be,
Okay.
if we don't do a rate increase, that's what's going on, so.
That goes down another 70 then?
Correct, because we have the
That'd be for
revenue for
full-
half of the
full
year.
year's revenue,
Yep,
yeah.
for a full year.
Okay. Labor-wise, again, a lot of moving around from '01 to '06.
Yep,
But any large, any major changes in labor numbers overall?
no, we actually, we had a little bit of, what was it? Are you talking current or the next year, a little bit of?
Yeah, we're still on current year.
Current, yeah. We just move those numbers around at this point until we get a good handle on what all's going
Yeah.
on. So we eliminated the service tech line item and just pulled it up with distribution because a person is
Okay.
labor tech, but they're also the ones getting overtime out in the field. You know, there was no reason to have a separate line item for that one, so we just moved that up. Of course, GM have the reduction there.
Yep.
And then the rest we were okay to leave alone.
Okay.
I think we'll see a more honest assessment of what our divisions are costing us if we can line item like this, what distribution's costing and water production and,
Yep.
that's the way I'd like to see it going forward. I think it can help us better with planning. There's one big increase on the maintenance on machinery. Like I said, we had the one high repair bill on the backhoe, but then I think we take that back down next
We
year.
do,
don't we?
yes.
We did to cover the repair this year. and then new valve body put in it.
So the action that we'll take today on these amendments is just
We'll set the
Setting
public
the date.
hearing, yeah, set the public hearing for the first meeting.
approve these
Okay.
resolutions, set the
Yeah.
date, and then we'll approve these changes at,
Yeah, and if you have any other changes you'd
Yeah, if
like,
you
we
want
can bring it
changes,
back
just-
at that time.
so we'll have some additional chance to discuss.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, today's motion would be just to set the hearing for December.
Okay, this is the introduction of the budget. Yep.
So any further discussion on changes to the 1920 budget? Okay, no further discussion on that. Let's move on to the 2021 budget. Revenues declined by $500,000, mainly because of the
Okay,
miscellaneous income.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. Able to drop operating expense by 74,000 compared to the current adjusted budget. And that appears to be just small changes
Right,
spread
that's,
out throughout the line items.
right.
I don't believe in just a flat % across the board increase when budgeting, I think.
Yeah, typically in the past
Crystal's
I've
done a real
always-
good job looking at our last 3 to 5 years of actual operating expense.
Typically in the past, I was instructed to just do 3%, and so every line item increased by that, but I
Yep.
think that that's not necessarily
Representative.
needing to happen. There's a couple of line items that were, yeah. I mean, we'd be over in one, short in another, but it should be a better picture. We'll find out next year. When we're back at the table and.
We've changed our CIP. I guess the best way to describe it is our CIP projects are $500,000 less,
Yes.
projected to be $500,000 less in that year.
And then the two big projects for next year are the rehabilitation of the high service pump room and the an updated SCADA system to bring our CO2 and lime feed operational within the SCADA system. Both pretty well warranted projects.
Yeah.
We don't want people to think we quit doing it because we don't have the street tore up next year.
Salaries include the hiring of additional, we have one position to fill in wastewater, right?
We do.
Yeah, so those will be, those numbers aren't, I mean, I've already calculated all those, just
They're-
keeping everything the
so
same
they're-
as what it was.
That's anticipated in this budget.
Correct, right. And again, like, there might be some changes made
Yeah.
once we look at it again.
Sure, yeah.
But already passed that information on to the city because they needed that number for
They needed that for figuring our sewer budget over there.
Mhm.
pretty much sending the same thing, just drop in their new numbers, but.
Their budgeting process is pretty involved, and I do know they're appreciative that we're a little bit ahead of the game because it's helping
They
them
own
meet their
numbers in
deadline.
September,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, we started that. We started budget meetings in September then.
meter reading surface, we're predicting to go down a little on that. We haven't heard of any rate increases from the contractor, have we?
And I'm not sure how long their contract runs.
I'm
Is it
not sure
yearly or-
either, they're usually contacting us by now, so I
Okay.
think they changed it last year or the year before.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember either, but I think we're good. I bet
Okay.
if they don't revisit it this year, it will be next year, so.
Okay, all right.
Because they have a certain amount of money they like to see every month.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of seems to be the same price no matter how.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
What's part of the security system expense?
The subscription fee for the backups,
Yeah,
for the cloud-based.
What we talked about earlier.
right.
Yeah, right.
Any other questions, comments on the fiscal 2021 budget? Okay. If no further discussion, we'll move on to agenda item 6, which will be the introduction of Resolution 1912, which sets the date for the public hearing before the Water Board for the 2019-2020 budget amendments. And you have a copy of that resolution in your packets. Prefer we read these out loud, Kelly, or just a motion to introduce?
We just need a motion.
Okay. So I'll introduce a motion to adopt Resolution 1912, setting the public hearing for the Water Board on the matter of the amended 2019-2020 budget, setting the date of December 9th at 4 p.m.
I'll second it,
Okay,
and then I do have a discussion point.
okay. The motion has been introduced and seconded. Any further discussion on Resolution 1912?
I will not be here on the 9th.
Is that date good for everybody else, as far as we know? So we will need a...
We're gonna need you.
We're gonna need a...
Check my schedule.
I'll send you a text.
Okay. We're gonna take a chance that we'll have a quorum. but
Yeah.
Thanks for letting us know.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'll be out of the area on that day.
Okay. We'll twist the other guy's arm and let him know that he needs to be here. Haven't seen him in
Maybe
a
you have
while.
to step up.
Yeah.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to adopt Resolution 1912, say aye.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously. Then agenda item number 7, discussion of resolution 1913. Same topic, setting the date for the public hearing for the 2020-21 budget. Same date, 4 o'clock, 9th day of December 2019, which is our regular board meeting. So I would entertain a motion to adopt resolution 1913.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 1913, setting a public hearing for the Oskaloosa Water Board, the matter of proposed budget for fiscal year 2021, as presented with the amendment of, what is it, paragraph 4? It
I just
says,
changed it.
okay, fiscal year 2021.
Correct.
Yes,
There we go.
thank you.
It did just change it.
4 o'clock on December 9th.
I will second the motion to adopt resolution 1913. Any further discussion? Okay, if there's no further discussion, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously. And with that, we're at agenda item number 8.
I move to adjourn.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. We are adjourned.
You were close.